August 28th, 2013. It's not really a notable date in history. It was a notable date for me, though. I came into work, just the usual day, thinking about what I'm going to do. It's Wednesday, hump day. That's when I learned something new about Danny Medina. Danny was my friend. He was my supervisor. He always came to work. He had a big smile on his face. He would always put people in a good mood. I just learned that Danny Medina had committed suicide. But this isn't a speech about suicide. This is a speech about legacy. And what kind of legacy is the life that we are living? What are we going to pass down to future generations? Every time I get an email that says somebody just passed, whether it was natural causes or it was an accident, I always think about mortality and legacy. And it also makes me think about our reticular activating system. It's this little area in the back of our brain, and its job is to clear out the clutter, because there's so much chaos out there in the world that it's hard for us to make decisions and to make sense of things. So let's say you're at the grocery store. You know that you need to buy some Captain Crunch. So your reticular activating system is going to say, Captain Crunch, look for the cereal aisle, and there it is, cereal aisle. Okay, now you're going down, you're looking for the Captain Space, there's Captain Crunch, got it? Everything else just fades to the background. I believe that our reticular activating system is at work every day in our life, and that determines whether our life is going to be a positive life of light or a negative life of shadow. Let's say you wake up in the morning, get out of bed, oh, stubbed your toe. Well, that one negative event, that is going to activate that part of your brain. And the natural conditioning of the brain is going to say, that was bad, that was negative. Now the next thing that happens in your day, you're going to almost be looking for that next negative thing. And then the next negative thing. And before you know it, you're on this downward spiral where you just had a bad day. Maybe you had a bad year. Before you know it, you've got a bad life. Now, the trick, I would say, is, what's the old saying? If life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. I'm not really into lemonade. I prefer lemon water, a little healthier. But that's kind of a trite saying. So how do we actually take those words and flip the script? When something negative happens to us, how do we get in that positive mindset so we're not going down that downward spiral? I want to talk about regret. I want to talk about success. And I want to do a self-assessment here with all of you. So for regret, there was an article in the Huffington Post called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And it named things from this palliative nurse who attended to people on their deathbed. Some of the top regrets were things like, I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish that I had spent more time with my friends. I wish that I had let myself be happier. So how did those people get to a place in their life where they were in shadow and their life was on that downward spiral and they had those regrets at the end of their life? It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by actress Lucille Ball. She said, I would rather regret the things that I've done than regret the things that I haven't done. Now let's shift focus and look more at the light. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to film some interviews with 3 residents of a retirement home. And I asked them, what was the defining moment of your life? I wanted to really glean some knowledge, glean some pearls of wisdom from these people who had lived a full life. And the common thread that I heard from every one of their stories had to do with freedom. You had Levon Woodbridge. Levon's story was about having a forbidden romance with one of the residents of the retirement home. And so she had to hide that because she worked there. They ended up getting married, and she gave herself the freedom to love. Then you had Kent Koopman. Kent Koopman, in an instant, was cured of his addiction to alcohol. it was a higher power that intervened in his life. And he was given freedom from his addiction. Then we had Gene. Gene was in an oppressive marriage that there was materialism, but they weren't really happy. There was a lot of racism and closed-mindedness in her neighborhood. She left it all. She went traveling. She just pursued the life that she'd never had. She simplified her whole life. She gave herself freedom from the status quo. So, a quick self-assessment. What's on your to-do list today? What's one of your big New Year's resolutions that you want to get done this year? If you were on your deathbed right now, would you have a regret because you didn't get that thing done? I'm willing to bet that that little tasker, that to-do list, is just one of those many things that's just kind of creating chaos and white noise in the background of our brains. So I would say, let's focus on the things that's going to create light in our lives. Because I would ask you, are you living a life of joy and freedom right now? If you do, if you have that joy in your life, I would say, keep doing that. You are in the light. And the next time that life happens and you stub your toe, you have an opportunity to make a choice. Are you going to let that moment start a spiral where you go into the shadow? Or are you going to flip the script and choose to go into the light? That's the choice that we all have. And I encourage you to make it a great day. We love you, Danny.